All righty, welcome everyone to another live stream, and I hope everyone had a wonderful week. Mine was a little busy, and but nevertheless, my wife was able to get a couple of appointments out of the way, and she's going to have some other procedures done, a couple of scans, and she got new glasses yesterday after all of the surgical procedures on her eyes, and she can see, and she says she sees clearly. So I'm so happy. She is actually enjoying this. I think she's not really making it sound like, but I know she is. She says, I can see when she put them on. They came yesterday. It took like 1 week. Warby Parker, yes. And they don't have a fantastic reputation, but they were able to take that last prescription she had done, the eye test, and created a set of glasses that gave her almost perfect vision. As far as she's telling me, we're going to go out tonight, driving at night, a little bit. I want her to see, especially since it's kind of rainy right now, and I want her to see if she starts see keeps seeing the little stars. And in other words, a pinpoint of light looks like a star, and we'll see if that is gone. If that is gone, then yeah, by golly, they did a fantastic job. So the slideshow that I made just now, that I showed you just now, is really like from 1950s, 60s, 70s imagery from Puerto Rico. Um, just so you know, I was born there in '49. My mother's side of the family, she was one of like 9 children, and her mother was one of 15 children, believe it or not. Um, if you know a little bit about the history of the Caribbean, Puerto Rico is a Spanish um, colony, but it's different than all the other islands in that we have a ton of different people there. Okay. They come from like almost 5 different areas in Europe, areas that you would not believe would be even related to Spanish. So, um, a couple of years ago, I did my DNA out of curiosity, and at this point, I have like 26 different zones that my DNA represents, and of course, it's not just Spain, but the Iberia Peninsula, and of course, even Ireland, believe it or not, and the Azores, little tiny islands on the west coast of Spain. I have a lot of DNA from there. Africa, Northern Africa, all of the Mediterranean area, including backward Greece is and Turkey. So it's crazy. So when I look at those pictures and I see the variety of people, it's amazing. My wife was mistaken for someone from northern Spain. They apparently look like her, but she's really from England and Germany, and of course Irish as well. But yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna have to search for new up to date photos and maybe do a new version of it and see if it really strikes me a little bit different because at this point, gee whiz, like I always tell people, I don't want to go to certain countries that I either lived in or visited 35 years ago. Um, they changed too much, and it might be a shock to me. I remember places from the time that I visited, and yeah, I haven't been to Puerto Rico since my oldest daughter was like 14. Okay, so you can sort of get an idea. And she's 53, going on 54. So, anyway, welcome again. Let me see how many we have here. 26. If you haven't noticed, version 220 came out last week from Prism, and it did incorporate yet another improvement as far as the output of a profile goes. In other words, the ability for it to accurately print through your printer that you created the profile with, what you see on your screen. And so that we just have to test it. And he did add a cool little feature where you can actually look at the scan. In other words, once the corners are selected, I'll demonstrate this. Once the corners are selected and the patches are also selected, you can actually look at it higher magnification and even super high magnification and just search around. Remember, the issue is you're using a scanner. The glass surface could cause some artifacts if it's not clean. Or, for instance, you created your chart and you didn't let it dry enough. And it's a little bit, certain papers require more dry time. And so it'll be a little bit sticky, possibly, and able to be smudged by not so careful handling. And you don't want that because you're relying on the over 9,000 patches to give the software as much information as possible so that it can create an accurate profile. My allergies are driving me nuts this week. I've been taking some of Janine's Allegra. I'm glad that it's rainy right now and the tree pollen is a little bit more subdued. All right, so let's say howdy to everybody here. Ron K was here with us this morning, I believe, 8:35 this morning. Trenton, New Jersey, 8550 QMH Ultimate Lifetime, Canon R5 Mark II, and a Canon D7 Mark I. Welcome again, as always. Nigel Waters, UK, 9:13 this morning. Canon Pro 300 with all the trimmings. Here is my friend Henry Stoffel from Medford, Massachusetts. Epson P800, OEM Inks, Print Prism 220, and a V39 scanner. So that scanner, how much did you pay for it? Henry, let me know so that people know that if they don't have a printer, say like the 8550 with a built-in scanner, say you already own a Pro 1, not a Pro 1, but maybe a Pro 1000 or 1100 on any other, high-end printer, and you just don't have a scanner. I have a scanner, but it cannot be used. It's not, it doesn't have the proper light source. So it has not been calibrated for Print Prism. But I think this sells for like that V39 2 sells for like $70, if I'm not mistaken. So I think for that, and say, for instance, the software, I think it's 45 at this point. You have a whole setup that you can use to produce outstanding, and people will argue till the end of time. Oh, no. The stuff I create with my X-Rite equipment is far superior. Well, prove it in showing me photographs and use the proper diagnostic procedure to analyze what you're seeing, not what you like. Okay, not what you like, but what it should be. Okay, I'm trying to come up with a dialogue and maybe even a script of analyzing the results of a standard image, what it is you should be looking for. I'm going to have to go back to their website. They no longer have the file available, but they have a page that shows you how to analyze what you get. But you got to remember, this was years and years ago. So I'll have to look at that and come up with my own up-to-date methodology, if you will. And I will then show you exactly what you should be looking for, and not necessarily what you think you should be looking for. Okay, what you actually should be looking for. And I have to do that too because I tend to be a little biased sometimes. All right, enough about that. But let me know how much you pay for that. Fred Elias, Warren, Michigan, mid-90s coming our way. Yeah, it's going to be like 100 here. And they're worried about the last time that happened, we had what they call a derecho. It's kind of like a storm that acts like a tornado, and it tore up the area in some very isolated places, and we were out of power for like 3 days, 4 days. Um, yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. My air conditioner is struggling to keep the house semi-cool. Today is like 68 outside, so I got all the windows open, trying to get some of that heat. Not the heat, the coolness inside is still. It was raining all morning. Right now, I think it's just sprinkling a little bit. But anyway, we'll hope for the best. So he's got, of course, Print Prism, 8550, Red River Papers, all OEM, Nikon D300, working with some restorations this week. Report to come. All right. I would encourage any of you, if you want to show off your work, show off your print, even though it'll be on a video camera, whatever, and you have the ability to join us via video, please let me know. I would love to have you here as a guest. Don't be shy. Look at me. I don't care what I look like anymore. I used to be very, very, very shy before. I need to shave. Look at me. And I just said, enough of that. No more shyness. And that happened when I was about 60. I was really, really super shy. I would have never been doing this. Never. I would have told you to go to where if you had even suggested I do videos for YouTube. No way. Anyway, so let me know, and I will be glad to send you a link. And just like Mike Cheney does every once in a while, and like Mike Lee used to do, where is Mike Lee? He is in South Africa, I think still. I think he went there last week. He has not told me that he has returned yet. I know he's going to send me some photos, he told me. But anyway, yeah, let me know. I would be very happy to have you here with me. We can share what it is you're working on. I like to show off my stuff. Why not you? All right, Photo Nikon 780. Greetings from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Missed the last 3 weeks. Was on vacation in Canadian Maritimes. Oh, man. Really? Too bad. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Busy now processing and printing my shots. Again, you see, this is what I want you guys to just, even if you're just sharing your screen and show us what you have been able to produce on a vacation or whatever you're working on. It's not just about me. You should be dead tired of seeing me doing stuff. I want to see you guys doing what it is that you love to do as well. Canon Pro 1100, Epson Ecotank 8550, and the XP 15000. Miss Judy Ann is here. Pacific Northwest, Canon Pro 200, Nikon, and Fujifilm cameras. Love to have you back. Kevin Bruniarski, Ellsworth, Wisconsin, and he's got the Pro 300 and the 8550. And of course, he always says to hit that like button. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult. Let me see. Let me just check to see how difficult that would be. I'm going to load YouTube and see, although this is not what you guys will be seeing. Nah, forget it. I think sometimes it's a little bit difficult to find that like button as you're watching live. But anyway, $90 at Staples. Okay, so that's 90 plus 45. Is that what it's selling for? 45? So that puts you at 135. This baby sitting right here. Well, let me see if I can show it to you. $1,500. That used to be a trip to Disney World. Not anymore. That costs a lot more now. But yeah, you get the drift. Steve XL, London, UK. Epson P800 refillable cartridges, OEM inks. Studio, I1 Studio spectrophotometer. That's the one that sort of replaced the Color Monkey photo. Q Image, Photoshop, Nikon Z7 II, and an Epson V500, just like mine right here. Too bad that cannot be used. It's actually a very good scanner for just about everything else, especially for film negatives and slides. So that's why I still have it. and I don't want to ever get rid of it. Hello from the Netherlands. This is HZ. We had record temperatures and record thunderstorms. Air conditioners are not common here, and I was close to a heat stroke. Oh my gosh. My wife would die. Yeah, literally. Seriously. 8550 and etc. All right. Hello, Richard Bender from Hagerstown, Maryland. Hagerstown, Maryland's a beautiful Western Maryland town. I used to go out that way and then head up north to Pennsylvania to visit a friend. But I always made it a point to go by that area there. I used to go to some but truck shows there with my friend from Pennsylvania, north of there. He's into HDR photography. He's got a Nikon D300, EcoTank 8550, QMH Ultimate, Print Prism, and multiple Nikon lenses or Nikon lenses. I get my glasses from the VA. Okay. They also allow spouses to get them at a discount. Takes about 2 weeks. Yeah, I know that. And I may go ahead and do that for me. I made sure that she got hers first. I need new ones. It's been years. So, alrighty. So, let's take a peek at Print Prism. Why not? Let's take a look at it. And again, when you open it up, you'll just go, okay, what's new? There's really nothing visible that you can detect as being new per se. So there it is. So again, it's project, print target, scanner source. So that's my 8550. This was the last profile that I created. Scan target and create profile. So just so you know, I was looking through my pile of paper back there, and I found some actual Epson premium glossy photo paper. It's 13 by 19. Actually, is the Super B A3. So that's 13 by 19, but it gives you the measurement in millimeters. And I only had like 3 sheets left. So I said, okay, what the heck? I went ahead and made a scan. So a print, that is. And here it is right here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and scan this, create a profile. I printed this last night, so it should be nice and dry. But let's continue examining what this has here and what you can do. Now, keep in mind, let me go to me. Keep in mind that this does have about a 3% improvement. 3% sounds very small, but it might be enough for you to see a difference. And it depends on the image, obviously. So, of course, I'm going to be doing the testing as I go deeper into this using the standard image as a source. And I'll use the one that Mike Cheney updated. Make sure you get that from my Facebook page. I uploaded it to the tab that says Files, and look for it. It should be the very first one on top. And it just changed the almost useless upper right image that was more like it looked like a VCR machine, and a couple of controllers and, like a CD or something like that. No, he put a real color photograph there. It's a still life, but it contains colors that would be more, something you would be looking into to see, can my printer reproduce these reds, these greens, these blues, these yellows, and so on. Not just grays and blacks and kind of purplish black. It was, I never did like that image. I'm going to look when I do my little study of what they wanted you to um, use when you what they wanted you to analyze when you were printing that particular image, and see what it is that they wanted you to see. I never really found much use to it. This is what I'm talking about. This one right here. Like, what is that for? I don't know. Okay. So now we have a nice colorful image that we'll be able to then tell if it can do, for instance, this red the way I see it on my monitor, this green the way I see it on my monitor, not just blacks and grays and bluish. You know, I find that useless. Anyway, so let me go back. So let's just go from the top to the bottom here. So here's your scanner. This is your scan the target. This is where you're going to give it a name. And this is the name that is going to then be saved as the profile, that is. And then scanner. This is basically where you're going to find if your scanner is supported in this list right here. Okay. So here's the number of passes. Here's the cool down amount of seconds, the cooldown time between passes. As I said earlier, last week, the unit, the actual sensor unit that scans across, is being driven by a stepper motor, and it could create a bit of heat, stress, whatever. So it goes that way and it comes back. You want it to rest. Let it rest. Don't set that. I don't think you can set that to 0. I think there's a minimum that you have to choose, 10 seconds. So there is no way that you can do a multi-pass, scanning session and not let it rest. You can experiment with this, whatever works for you. Let's just use 20 seconds this time. Okay, then here you have this little color wheel, and it's barely visible. You can see the warm tones here, your cool tones here. So what happens, the way to use this is you're going to say print your color images, and you're going to love them. Absolutely. If you did the process correctly, you're going to love your results. But then you want to print a black and white, and you may notice it has on a certain paper that you made a profile for, it may have a bit of a color cast, as tiny as ever, but it's still there. And you want to eliminate that. You want to neutralize it. So you take that image, you hold it next to the monitor, and you move this toward whatever area matches the cast that you are seeing on your print. And then once you do, so say if it's a little bit greenish, you move it over here, and you just find whatever matches that. Okay, slide it right over. Over to the magenta, over to the yellow, and the green, and so on. The blue, purple down here, yeah. So wherever you can find that it matches. If that is it, then you're going to save it. And you don't have to do anything at this point. Just leave everything alone, and you create that profile. I recommend you overwrite the original one. It's going to apply a tiny little correction that should take care of that error that you saw, that little bit of a color cast that you saw. So, and then once you're done, then you can just use that profile from now on. And if you're printing color, you're never going to notice the difference, because that tiny, tiny, tiny color cast is just absorbed by the colors of your regular color image. You're not going to be able to see it. It's when you print neutral, black to gray to white prints, that's when you may notice a bit of a color cast. Anyway, so that will work. Now, you have normal and you have boost. This is going to take care of any kind of blockage that you may have the first few patches on a black to white scale. In other words, 0 to 255, and say you just see black all the way to like number 10. Well, you might have to open that. You may have to spread that out a little bit. And you can choose this. Create a profile using Boost. It says right there, profile shadow detail. So that profile you can then save as a different name. Just call it shadow boosted or something like that, or boost. And then compare the previous one that was blocking the first 10 steps to the one so-called boosted, and see if you can see some of those shadow little blocks. And that means we're talking about these right here. We're talking about these right here, this lower row. And you may have to backlight it to be able to see that. So once you start seeing, say, number 4, instead of nothing until like 12, then you know you actually expanded those shadows a little bit. It's only going to affect the bottom of that gamma curve. Okay, so this is black, this is gray, and it just plateaus right there. It's not really a straight line. It's a S curve, and it goes up to a semi-straight line, and then at the highlight level it plateaus again. So what you're doing is making this a little bit more straighter instead of a curve like that. So you have more separation of just those dark tones, those first 12, say, for instance. And the middle ones are not affected. Only the bottom of the curve is actually straightened up a little bit. You get more separation between those dark tones. You may want that or you may not care. Okay, it depends. If you're an Ansel Adams type, yeah, you want as much shadow detail as possible, as much highlight detail as possible, and as wide a dynamic range as possible. You may want to start shooting HDR. It's very difficult to achieve with just, say, one raw file, a single raw file. So Richard Bender is the expert at that, by the way. He's right here with us. All right, let's continue on. So I'm going to put this back to normal because I've been very happy with the results I've been getting. Now here is the last version, 210, incorporated a perceptual intent exposure. I think that's what it means, exposure. Low is the normal. We usually print using relative colorimetric, and that's because we are very careful when we edit our images, making sure that nothing gets pushed out of gamut. And you can just check your images using gamut warning in Photoshop, for instance. And you can tell if I oversaturated, now that red is almost turning gray on me. So you may have to reduce that level of saturation. So medium. So what does medium do? Now you're going to have to use perceptual intent. Okay, you're going to have to use perceptual intent. And you're actually allowing more gamut for those difficult colors. Now, last week I showed you guys, and I did it on matte paper, but then I thought that really doesn't help because I should have done that on glossy paper so you see any difference is a lot clearer. So the top one is high gamut at perceptual setting. The low one is relative colorimetric. So this was printed with a profile set to high. And the bottom one was made with a profile just set to normal. Okay. You can see the difference. Now, you don't print these standard images for putting on your wall. You use this as an analytical tool. So if you have a troublesome image that when you go to gamut warning, you see lots of gray areas, you may want to use this system where you create a profile using high. And what it does, it reduces everything. the intensity of everything so that it is now able to be sort of all brought in without telling a certain red, sorry, you cannot get in here. You're out of gamut. Stay outside. You just allow everything to come in. The bottom one is the more restrictive one. That is relative colorimetric. If you're out of gamut, too bad. Notice the difference between the two strawberry images. And by the way, this is what I was talking about. Let me turn this on. I forgot to charge this, so I don't want to waste my battery too much here. Notice, and let me back up. Notice the upper one. Those strawberries are no longer red. They're more orangey. It had to do that. That strawberry is about 60% out of gamut. So it has to do something to make it printable. Now it's not something that I detect with my eyes, say here. To me, they look red. This is just a stronger red, relative colorimetric. It's a stronger red. This is a more subdued red. It's not really orange. Right now you can sort of see at this angle what I'm talking about. This is a slightly more subdued red. Okay. So that's was incorporated last time with level 210. So now let me just go back. So if you want to do that, say hi. I haven't tried medium yet. Create it and then just add the word high per sep or something like that. Just an identifying term so that you know which is which. And then the other one you can just don't add anything to it. Just we assume is normal and it'll be relative colorimetric. So these profiles that you create via these two modes, you're going to have to use perceptual. Okay. I have yet to try, you know me, I have to test everything. I have yet to try a profile made under that mode using relative colorimetric rather than perceptual, just to see. And then I'll compare it to the normal one, which uses relative colorimetric. You see what I'm getting at? So create a profile, say for high, but not printed with perceptual, printed with relative. And again, it has to be a standard image, and then you compare the two. Lots of things. Okay, so, and then if you want to do totally manual workflow, you're going to use this section here. So what to do? Now, I have a bunch of profiles that I have been making all along. And luckily, the image has not changed. The image that you used to create the chart with has not been updated. So pretty much everything I have now currently was printed using the most recent image file, the chart. So I want to update some of my profiles because I want to squeeze that last 3% blood out of that turnip, if you will. You get what I mean? So we're squeezing as much quality as possible. So one thing you can do is just go back. Don't scan anything. Just go back here. Okay. Open file. And I have been working on some of my latest ones. So say, for instance, Pro 200 Canon Pro Platinum Gloss and PC 8550. Let me see. I misspelled that. Oh, no, PC. Okay, PC SE Inks 65. That's the number of the cartridge. So say I want to redo this profile. Okay, I want to add that improvement to it. So I just click on it and let me see something. Yeah, I told Mike jokingly, wouldn't it be fun if I can just select a bunch of these all at once and just have the program just redo everything for me while I have dinner? I don't know. That might not be possible. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that. And it's going to ask me profile settings and crop markers exist for this image. Would you like to load them? You like to load the settings markers used on this date. So that was done 03/13/2026 at whatever time. So I'm going to say yes. And there it is. So it's loading that scan. And notice everything, all the selectors are pretty much centered. But I want to make sure that I don't have any defects. See, I didn't really look through this before. I can click on here, 2x, 3x. And I'm going to look, and I'm going to see if I see any kind of defects. Oh, there's one right there. But lucky for me, the selector is actually in the center, so it's not including that little blob. Here's another little blob. There's one right there. I mean, if you look through this, and you can spend several minutes doing this, and you see any blobs, any kind of, okay, here's one right there. I would go back and visually look at my print. Here's one right there. And again, as long as the selector is on the center. Now, you do not know if there is a little blob right over or right under that selector. You don't know that. But here's another one right there. I mean, this looks pretty clean. Go back to 1x. And once you do that, you just simply go to create profile. It's going to say it's going to override it. And you just kick back now and let it do its thing. And it's going to replace that profile with one with that extra 3% improvement. I don't know how many more times you can do this, because it took them 2 weeks of work going through every scanner that he has presently at home to get them all calibrated so that they are all acting the same, in other words. So that's a lot of work. That's why I didn't hear from him for like a whole 2 weeks. And obviously he's not here now, so I'm sure he's working on something else. But what I was suggesting jokingly, hopefully it's not a joke, but what I was suggesting is that if he can come up with a way that we can say, pick 5 of those scans and have it automate through the process, that would be fantastic. Because then if I have like 50 profiles already, I don't have to do one at a time. I can just select several and then go upstairs, have a cup of coffee or whatever, eat a donut, come back down, and they're all pretty much done. So, and again, you have to be able to remember some of my early profiles may not have been done using that particular chart, the newest chart. So if that is the case, you would have to go back and reprint brand new charts using whatever printer it was, paper, and so on, but using the new up-to-date chart. Okay, because this software right now is only compatible with the images that you scanned or printed using that new chart. So it's almost done. I should time this. I don't have a timer button here, but I think it's been like a couple of minutes. And if you recall how long it takes me to scan like a really substantial 3-page chart, that's a hell of a lot longer. Imagine if you had to scan each one of those individually. That would take you all day. So by using an optical scanner, and then the software is smart enough, it's done. Yeah, it's done. The software is smart enough to locate those corners right here. You see that? Let me magnify it even more. See this little red corner marker? That's on the image. The gold or yellow optical marker, that's on the software. The software located that red right angle little marker and placed right on top of it its own little marker. So all four of them have been located, and then once it does that, it can figure out where each one of those patches should be located. Say, for instance, XY coordinates. And so it places that marker, that selector, right in the center. Now, this simply means that it's out of the capacity of my scanner to be, but these is so small, the number, that it just doesn't really matter. You still have thousands of others that can be utilized to create a profile with. So let's go ahead and actually make a profile from a scanned, from actually a print, I'm sorry. So I am going to load this. Try to lay it as flat as possible. And what are we going to do? We're not going to print, right? We're going to scan. So this has to be named differently. So let's see. We're going to use the term well, I should have kept the word Pro 1000, and this is Epson. I'll keep gloss there. Epson, and I think it was Photo Supreme premium glossy photo paper. There's a lot of similar names, so make sure you actually write the actual name. So premium glossy photo paper. And what else do I have on here? I don't need any of that. The other one was on the Pro 200, and I was using refillable inks from Precision Colors. All right, so that is it. So we're going to go ahead and scan the target. And it's telling me that that already exists. So I must have done it in the past. So fine. I'll go ahead and redo it. And then once this is done, so as you can see right here, it is scanning. If you go to me, you should be able to see my light blinking. So it's performing the first scan, and it's going to rest. And what did we do? We changed it down to 20 seconds, cooling down. Now, if you go back months ago, we only had a single scan, and you had to do everything manually. You actually you had to have you had to tell the Twain manager to not use color correction, to be raw, and all sorts of things. Now he incorporated all of that under the table, so it is actually being done behind our backs, and we no longer have to worry about having to get those settings, the scanning settings correctly. You were supposed to scan with no sharpening because you don't want to accentuate any kind of defect that might be on that print, or on the glass itself. So recommendations: keep that glass spanky clean. Use a light, literally light it, and make sure. Use I would use a cloth like you use for your glasses. Micro porous, is that? No, micro, I forget what it is, but anyway, you know what I mean. To clean your surface of the scanner itself, and just make sure that everything is nice and clean. Pass number 4 is cooling, or is cooling for pass number 4, I think. So I would still be maybe on row number 10 out of 3 sheets with about maybe 100 rows. You see what I mean? And that's work that would keep me busy. I would be exercising my arm, in other words. So doing it this way, the scanner is doing all the exercising. I'm just kicking back, cooling down. Now it's going to do the 5th pass, and then it's going to locate the corners. It's going to locate each square, and then we can choose to see what sort of settings we want for this, for the actual profile itself. What variations do I need? I'm going to leave it the same. I'm going to leave it as is, and then we're going to print a 13 by 19 on the Pro 1000, testing that same profile. Here we go. So there's the marker. You can see the little red angle marker, and it located it. Excellent. Let's go to magnification 2. Let me get everything aligned here. So that's the upper left. And I'm looking, yeah, these always just don't get scanned. In other words, they're just a little bit beyond. Here's the upper right. Yep. Now we're going to do the lower left. Yep. And the lower right. All right, so make sure that you're using PP version 4.2 target. I think that's the latest one, so that's what we're going to be using from now on. And again, if you printed something, a chart with an earlier chart, you may have to redo it again. So while we've been chatting here and checking those little markers, the profile has been created, has begun to be created. So, and there you go. So while that is happening, I'm going to take a sheet of paper and load it onto my. Actually, let's do something smaller first. I have a few smaller prints. This is 8 by 10. I took a 13 by 19 and just trimmed it to different sizes. I'll be right back. Okay. Almost done. Now, if you just have one printer and a few papers, you can be done with this in a matter of an hour. You can do all the paper profiles you need, and from that point onward, enjoy them and begin to print beautiful prints of your images. That's it. We're done. Okay, so let me go ahead and close this. Go back to me first, and then we'll go ahead and open up Q Image. Any questions? Any? What have you guys been experiencing with the new version? I know several of you already installed it, so let me know how has it been working out for you. Have you seen any differences? Have you been able to do a comparison? I didn't even bother. I am not going to bother. I'm going to take his word as the gospel truth, and I just installed it. And from now on, I'm just going to sit here and redo all my previous profiles and see basically what we get. So let us go ahead and load something. Let me take a peek at what we have here. Oh, hang on a second. Richard Bender sent me some new stuff. So let me put this in his folder. Let's take a peek. I'm going to look for, oh, here, this is, gee. I want you guys to see this for a second. So this was the regular photo, and he turned it into a night version. Isn't that something? But I want to print something colorful. There we go. That's a nice, but do I have this set correctly? Probably not. So let's go ahead, choose the Pro 1000. I'm going to choose 8x10. I'm going to choose fit to page, maybe, let's see, fit to page. And that basically covers it. I want to make sure that I have, I know what you guys are going to say right there, but let me check something first. I think this is set to borderless. Yep. That's why it's up to the upper edge. And we're going to choose, I use Photo Paper Pro Platinum to create that profile. Let me make sure that, yeah, I use the best glossy paper to create that chart. So that is set, high quality, highest, right there. And that's it. So no, let me go back. I shouldn't have clicked on that. Okay, so that is set. We'll set to 8x10. Make sure everything is hunky-dory, but without a border. Let me see. Oh, I see. Okay, when you get this issue where it's not letting you, you're going to have to go here, pay, print options, cancel the safety margin regulation. Okay. Now I can go back and I can actually tell it to print an 8x10 and use the top feed. So it's tricky, folks. The Pro 1000 is tricky. It wants you to use that premium paper using the rear feeder. Okay. The back. Sometimes they call the top feeder the rear feeder, it's kind of weird, but you know what I mean, the manual feeder in the back of the printer. So you need to cancel that, like I just showed you right there, right here, main, and then, I'm sorry, page setup, options, and then click on that. Okay. And you can leave that as a default if you would like. Okay, so now I got my margins back, but I want an upper margin or an upper margin or border, lower border, that's 1/4 inch. And then that will automatically set the right and left border as even. Now comes the fun part. So we're going to click on the little tool right there, magnifying glass. I just created this profile, so it should be right at the bottom here. If not, just enter and do a search. Premium. Wait a minute. That's odd. It wasn't there. Premium. Let's see if I can find what I just made. That's odd. So it should have been there. Not Matt. Remember, it said to overwrite it because it already existed. And I should be able to find it as the latest one. Here it is. No, that's not it. Okay, so this didn't quite turn out like I was hoping. Sometimes errors do occur. Now, let's just go back. I'm not going to give up. Let's go back to Print Prism. I know if Mike was watching, he would be all over me. Obviously, I did something wrong. No. I should have given it a name first. I'm trying to stop the process. I guess once it starts, you cannot stop it. Folks, I am absolutely positive this is not Print Prism's problem, it's my problem. I should have checked after I changed the name to make sure that, it was still going to be there. In fact, I should have checked to see if the scan that it claimed that existed was still there. So let it do this, and then I'll come back and take a peek at that. All right. So obviously, I think what it did was to overwrite the previous name, which I have no clue what it was. I think it was a Pro 200. Yeah, right there. So that's the one. So it rewrote it to that date, to that particular paper type. So let me see, double check here. June 28th. Yep. So this is it. Basically, I didn't check, and the change of the name did not come through, and it just rewrote itself over this. So this really should be for the Pro 1000 using the Epson premium glossy photo paper. No problem. We'll go ahead and I'm going to actually remove that manually. There. It's now gone. It's going to actually, I'm going to cancel that job. When this is done, it's going to rewrite it. I'll delete it again. But this time, I'm going to tell it not to use that same name. It was my fault. Yeah. So it's detecting corners. And it's already writing it. So we have to wait for this whole process to end. But as far as the rewriting your previous scans, as long as you have an image already saved of that scan, it's a matter of just choosing that one and just creating a profile and rewriting the old one. And we just have to wait for this to finish. So this one here represents that chart that I placed in there. Right there, Pro 1000. And Epson Premium Glossy Photo Paper. Sorry about that, folks. It's just me today. My eyes are driving me crazy. I have over 5 different types of eye drops, and they don't seem to do anything. So, of course, these are over-the-counter type products. Most of it is just saline, 0.9% saline, and maybe a bit of glycerin. No really like specific ingredients, if you will. So come on, finish up already. I suppose I can just change the name of the profile. I don't know. I've never done that before. Like physically change it. And if I do that, will it actually show up as a profile with a different name? Sometimes that does not work. Okay, so now it's closed. So let me go back to me. It finally shut down. So let me change this myself. Yeah, it's the same name. Pro 1000. We just want to make a print, please. And Epson Premium. Is it? Premium Glossy Photo Paper. Premium Glossy Photo. That's enough. Okay. Let's see. All right. So now it's saved under a different name. Let me see if QImage sees it as that. Sometimes just rewriting the name of the profile itself doesn't really work. I'm glad Mike is not here. He will be all over me. All over me. Yes. And I would, I guess, deserve it. Okay, so we have the Pro 1000, Pro Platinum paper choice. And now we're going to search and see. Yeah, it still has the platinum gloss. Okay, no biggie. We'll go ahead and use that. And relative colorimetric. and we will print that. While that is printing, let me see if I can fix this. Okay, so I have to let it print before I delete it again. So that's loading right now. You can see it. Open up Print Prism. I'm going to do it over here so I can see better. Okay, Pro 1000. And I'll show you what I'm doing. Epson Premium Glossy Photo. Okay, I did it. See, I know exactly what I did wrong. Yep. I know exactly what I did wrong, folks. Okay. Here, you go ahead and you print the target, right? And then you go profile description, you dummy. This is where you write the name, not here. Okay, so there it is. And now if you look here, there it is. Pro 1000 Epson Premium Glossy. And if you go here, that's what is going to be named, the profile itself. So for the hell of it, I'm going to go ahead and scan it again. So I got to come over here and create a profile or what? Let me see. Print target, scan, right there. My eyes are just driving me nuts. I can't see worth a damn right now. Everything is blurry. All right, so it's doing that, and it's going to go ahead and create that profile with the correct name this time. It was just my fault. I put the name in the wrong location. Don't yell at me, Mike. I can barely see right now. So we are printing. Printer is telling me that the maintenance cartridge is almost full. When full, the maintenance cartridge will need to be replaced. The printer will not be able to print with a full cartridge. Oh my gosh. That's all that wasted ink that I have been systematically collecting. I need to use that printer for a lot more stuff. Make that ink just last. Use it for something productive. And I'm just as guilty as anyone else, folks, when it comes to that. So now that is scanning, pass number 3, cooling down, and now begin that pass. I need to actually weigh my MC20 and see how heavy it is. If it's around 450, then yeah, I got to replace it. If it's not, I can just reset it and reuse it. You can actually reset the chip if you have a resetter. They're not cheap. They're like $90, $100 for these resetters, but it allows you to get a little bit more extra life out of a MC20 because they're like $15 each. And I'm not sure if I even have a replacement right now, so I may have to do an order. Let's check and see what we got. I have my settings on QMH wrong, obviously. Again, I'm going to cancel because it's printing 6 copies. Anyway, so, but this is it, and it is gorgeous. Look at that. So remember I said it was set to 4x6. Well, when I went back, I didn't fix it again. I should have done that. So it's printing on an 8x10 and it's centered basically. So let's do this. This is still scanning. Let's do this again. Okay. Let's see. So let me find out what the error is. So media size 8x10 prints. Huh, that's weird. Let me go ahead and remove. Oh, I did not remove the previous jobs. Oh, that's why. Okay. So now we're going to do a 16x20, not a 13x19. And same settings, paper-wise, should be A3 plus. Is there such a thing here? A3 right here. A3 plus, 13x19. And I want, this case, a more substantial border, 1/2 inch. But you know it's not going to be, it has to be uncropped. There we go. So let's just do this one. Let me load the paper. Paper is loaded. Let me make sure that I'm not sending multiple jobs to the printer. Here we go. Everything is set. Photo paper platinum. And I'm going to change this and load the actual one we just made. I may have to restart this though. Yeah, I'm going to have to restart it. Usually when you have a new, if it was left open while you were creating a profile, it will not show up as done. Let me close that. Did it finish? Oh, it hasn't finished the profile yet. Right there. There you go. Now we're good. It was still working on that profile. Now, it should remember everything we were doing. So we'll just go ahead and load the profile while we are getting ready here. And date. And here we go. Pro 1000 Epson Premium Glossy Photo. You see, folks, it's not the tools. It's the guy behind the tools making the mistakes. And as you can see, I'm very good at that. Okay, so this should be ready to be printed. Let's go. I'm going to compare it to this because it should be the same profile. We should get identical results. What time is it? 1:18. Oh, okay. We have plenty of time. But yeah, I love the new ability to magnify that scanned image because I want to check to make sure that I'm getting as much representation of the 9,000 plus patches to be, selected so that my profile, my resulting profile, includes as much information as possible. That's all I can say. I don't know, like what else can he possibly incorporate? Again, like the ability to do multiple already scanned images. So when you scan, you create an image and it is saved in a folder. That's what I showed you earlier, where you had a lot of different names, a lot of different images. You can then reload those scans and redo the profile, which will then include the supposed improvements. You see, so say he had improved it 10%. Well, that makes sense. You should print that. You should print that. I mean, you should rescan all of those, not rescan, but redo the profiles. You already did the scans. Now we have to redo the profiles. Um, if you use the magnification and you notice that you have some blotches, oh, gee, where did that come from? Go back and look at your charts and see where those came from. It could be the print itself got smudged. It could be the glass on your scanner is dirty. So make sure you check everything. And now we can do that, because before it was very difficult to see any of those little tiny details. Now, this is a rather graphic image, if you ask me. So it would be a little difficult for some printers to reproduce, I mean, genuinely, faithfully to what you would see on your screen. I'm going to load that on Photoshop and see how much of it is out of gamut, if any at all. So I'm going to load up Photoshop 2026 and see how that looks. I got to keep an eye on my print over there. It's still loading. So it's printing, I mean. Just began to print. Take a look. Notice none of my colors are showing. That's because everything has been disabled. All right, so let me open up that file. Let me make sure I'm on my desktop. And I'm going to look for Richard Bender's newest. Where are you? Here we go. And find that one image right here. Open it up. And there it is. Now let's see. View out of gamut. Oh yeah. So you have, quite a bit right here in those areas there that would probably be improved upon had I used that setting, the new setting in Photoshop. I mean, in Print Prism, to allow more colors to be squeezed in. But yeah, so I mean, you could look at this, and let's go ahead and do a bit of a check. So I'm going to load that profile. Let me see if I can find it. There's no way that I can do a quick search here. Well, that is not a profile. So Pro 1000. How did I name that? Pro 1000 Epson Premium Glossy right here. Oh, look at that. Isn't that magical? Folks, are you shocked yet? This is without my profile, using some other profile. I don't know which one. And this is as soon as I load my profile that I just made. Everything now is in gamut. Shocking. Okay, you need to see this again. This is relative colorimetric. Let's go ahead and look at perceptual. Yeah, you see the difference here? It just got a little bit more subdued. Watch. Relative, look at this right here. The areas that were gray. Not much of a difference. Let's look at saturation. Yeah, even more. Look at that. You can see the saturation. When you use saturation, it does increase it a little bit. Black point compensation, on, off. On, off. Look here. Look right here. See that? Watch. You want this or do you want that? Of course you want that. Of course you don't want that. You want this. This is why you must always use black point compensation. I don't know why people sometimes decide not to use it. Remember we were talking about blocking like the first 10 or 12 black points? Golly. If that is not obvious, I don't know what is. Boom. Oh, heck yeah, I want that. So there you go. Preview. Wow. And now. Gee whiz. All right, let me check to see how we're doing here. Still have a few more inches to go. But wow, I am shocked. I never really did this check before. I just took it for granted that my profile was going to be excellent. But this is beyond. This is beyond anything I would expect. Okay. Wow. Now, simulate black ink. I don't know what that means. And this is simulating what the paper is going to make it look like. This is always very unrealistic looking. This is more likely to look like this. And you will see in a minute. But this part right here, wow. And then black point compensation. And it's subtle. Right here, you can see that. Now, do you want, okay, this is like up to you. Do you want this to be richer? Watch what happens right here. Watch what happens right in this area. It's a little bit, this will be almost getting blocked. And this is more open. You see how there's more tonality here? But do you want that? Or do you not want that? Right here. This says it all for me. I want this. I do not want that. If I spent time when I was creating this image to make sure that this was visible, I don't want it to become that. I want it to have detail. Look at how it opens up all of these areas. And this might be insignificant to you, but to me, no, it is not insignificant. All right, so this is almost done. There we go, it is finished. Let's close or minimize this. I'll close it. I don't need it anymore. And go to me. And there it is. So I'm looking, I want to see the detail here. This is what I was talking about. Yeah, it's there. It is there. Very glossy. But and I mean, I could have sharpened it. Printed at this size is, it needs a little help. But other than that, the color rendition is beautiful. I mean, look at the nuances between all of these blending colors. Why would I want to like make this go dark? He spent time creating that, all of those subtleties. So no, making a profile such as the one we just made, even though yeah, I screwed up and I made lots of mistakes, but they were not tragic mistakes. It was just simply naming mistakes. Yeah, you just cannot say that profile we just made. I wish I had more paper now. It's sad that I only have like one more sheet left, but I may go ahead and delete that profile later. Who knows? But let's go ahead and do something a little bit different. A guy sent work to a lab, and I'll just read a little bit of it. So he is a professional photographer, 15 years experience. I've always been very happy with her work when I have hired her. So this is somebody who hires someone else. It starts off, I am not sure if I'm in the right place to ask this question. I apologize if I am not. I had a professional family photo session done recently. Photographer has 15 years experience. I've always been very happy with her work when I have hired her. The digital photos she delivered were perfect. The color was amazing, no issues whatsoever. I went to a professional lab to have them printed. I had them print 8 12 by 16s and some 5 by 7s, which total over $150. That's kind of cheap, if you ask me. The prints came back oversaturated to the point where all the skin tones in every photo were almost red. It's very obviously, folks, if you ever have to post this on a forum, provide us with actual photos of the prints you're complaining about. Okay. It is just saying that the skin looks red is subjective. How red? Do you look like you're burnt? You know what I mean. Sunburn? No. So it's very obvious that something went wrong. I went back into the lab and mentioned my issue. I was very calm, not accusatory in any way. I asked to see the screen they use for printing, thinking, okay, maybe the images we got are really saturated and my computer is just not showing it. But they also look perfect on the lab's screen, leading me to think that there was some kind of disconnect with the printer. I don't know what that means. The lady helping me was adamant that color variation is common. But when I held up the print she gave me against her screen, she could see the issue and agreed that something wasn't right. Both of our screens look the same, but the photos look great, but when printed, they are very off, meaning the images look great, not the photos. My issue now is at the time of me posting this, the lab owner hasn't ever even seen the issues yet. So the lab owner is not aware of any thing going wrong. He has had a phone conversation with the lady helping me, and he is refusing to print for free, only offering a 50% discount to reprint them. We are already over $650 invested in these photos overall. To give this company even more money makes me want to vomit. I don't know what to do. To me, there is something wrong with the printer, or maybe there are settings or something. Okay, already I know this person is not very well educated in the actual side of printing. Okay, by the terminology. I understand that maybe it won't be 100% perfectly matched, but I feel like it shouldn't be that off. Am I wrong and totally out to lunch? I want to be reasonable. I'm a pretty easygoing person, but we haven't had family photos ever done in over 5 years, and these are just so bad. I honestly want to cry. I would love some advice. I am meeting the owner on Friday where I can show him the issues, but I would really love to know if this is my fault or am I being reasonable in raising my concerns and adding for a spree and asking for a free reprint. So somebody answer, what files were they given? Process RAWs to TIFFs, JPEGs? Most of the time they're JPEGs. What printer are you using? Are they using in some of the commercial units you see M1K only? Not really. If they use inkjet, it'll be yes, it's CMYK, but the process is still RGB. Asking if they are printing with at least an 8-color pigment printer. No, folks. Um, Believe me, the 8550 will do a really good job. Many times, many things at play here. Okay. And then the person answer back. Let me see. No, that's not the person. What files were they given process? Okay. So somebody just wrote, it's not the same person, plus embedded profile in image. Oh, okay. Wants to know if they were embedded with a profile. Oh. From your description, if it is accurate, the lab should reprint the photos at no charge. When my brother and I owned the photo lab in the film days over 40 years ago, we were always willing to reprint if the customer was not happy, unless they were inexpensive photo prints, proof prints. Even when the customer was wrong and was not happy that we did not match their ugly proofs, we would almost always do the reprints for free. Of course, if they gave us a negative that, say, was multiple stops underexposed, or a transparency that was stops overexposed, there was seriously nothing we could do to make their photos look good again. I want to see if there's the first guy. No, the first guy has not responded yet. This is an ipso facto, the lab's problem. If their prints don't pretty well match their screen, then they have a problem. My conclusions: hope you paid with a credit card and you can dispute the charge with your credit card issuer. And this place is not behaving like a professional lab. And the fact that their prints don't pretty well match their screen proves they have a substandard color management and process control problem. It sounds like you made a very reasonable attempt to resolve the genuine problem. So what do? I would tell the lab that either they reprint with correct color or at no additional charge, and which time you exchange the original or saturated prints for the correct ones, or you will all that apply dispute the charge on your credit card. Okay, so then he added, print out this thread before you meet with them. Okay, now he answers back. Thank you so much for the response. I did pay with a credit card. Yes, I spoke with the bank and they agreed that the lab is not acting in good faith. And once the charge is posted, they have asked me to call back and officially file a complaint, dispute the charge. At that point, they will reach out to the lab, get their side of the story, and then decide if they will refund the cost of the bad prints. This looks like something that will be on People's Court on TV. Yeah, to be honest. He also, the same guy, the original poster. I honestly can't understand why this company is willing to risk a bad review and an unhappy customer with measly costs that it would take them to just fix it. Yeah, basically the actual cost is really quite low comparatively speaking. I understand that the digital images were vastly different from my screen and the lab screen, but they are exactly the same. There is no color variation. The issue is clearly the printer they're using. I had a look at their return policy, and here's what it states. Okay, then he just talks about return policy. It sounds like a profile mismatch on their end. They need to make sure that it is consistent with whole printing process. Could be. I was trying to figure out the most likely cause. Okay, so to me, it's just a color management issue. They're not doing a good job, and something is going on. They just don't realize it. But this is very common out there. Very common. Um, Richard Bender says this was eye opening. Yeah, can you imagine that? And did you see what the profile did? This is while viewing the image. This is called soft proofing through um, gamut warning. Okay. So I'm thinking, let's do one more. I have one sheet left. Let me see. Should I use it? Let me see what else I have. Nah, I better just use the whole sheet. Might as well. And I'm gonna do a monochrome. And I got an image. I want to search for it, see if I can find it. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay. I'm going to look through my pile of old images here. Let me reload Q image. And I want to use that same profile. And let's see if I have a tint. So far, it did a majestic job on your image, Richard. But now I have to check one of mine and see what I can do. I'm going to do this off screen in a second here because otherwise my eyes are so blurry right now. So let's go ahead and look at my photo drive. I hope I can locate this. It's really neat. And it has a lot of tonality that I can then use to check to see if there's any kind of a like non-linear issues with neutrality. Let me wait for this to load here. Open. Come on. Jeez. All right. It's finally loading. Oh, man. I've been using those little eye wash cups with some saline, hoping that that helps. But so far, okay, I did find it. Excellent. Here we go. All right, there it is. So this image pretty much has the complete dynamic range. I checked it on their Photoshop. I have the deepest black is 1, basically on the 0 to 255. I have a 1, and then I have a 254, and nothing is white. So only the borders are white. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have proper amount of sharpening. Yes, I already do. Excellent. Yep. Ow, I see something that I didn't realize. I've actually cropped this in the past. I'm going to uncrop it. Hold on 1 second here. I'm going to, it's more of a 4, like a 3 to 4 ratio. You're not seeing what I'm seeing here. Hang on a second. Oh, yes, you are. Okay, good. So let me, right about there. I just want to include the whole image. I want to make sure that, yeah, bring it in. I used to have a stupid white border or white so-called stroke around it. Okay, so that's as good as it's going to get. I have 2 and 150 sharpening, and good. That's it. So we're going to print the whole freaking image. It's not going to fit. It's going to be like that. You see that? So we'll go ahead and print that. Everything should be the same settings. Here's the Pro 1000 Glossy, Epson Premium Glossy Photo, and that's it. 13 by 19. We'll send it to the printer. Then I want to see what kind of tint, if any. And I got to be careful because there's different types of lighting coming in here. I got some window light coming from my back, and then these 2 lights. But I'm going to use this one here to view it and see if I detect any kind of tint. I will not be able to promise that you will not see a perfectly neutral result. You got to realize that this camera is not really color calibrated. Okay, so no one has actually posted anything. Come on. What's happening? Tell me what you've been doing lately, folks. And have you done any Print Prism 220 profiles? And if so, hopefully you didn't commit stupid errors like me. You did it correctly. And just tell me, share with us what your results have been like. Just jump right in and tell me. We have a few minutes to kill here while this is being sent to the printer. So please do so. By the way, I have full application of Chrome Optimizer. So that means that it is an even coating and not relying on the actual density properties of this image. So as you realize, contains a lot of different shades of gray. And so using just auto setting, it will apply less to the highlight areas. It will apply more to the shadows. And then the borders get 0. So in this case, everything is an even coat of Chrome Optimizer. And yeah, it uses more. It uses a lot more, but that's something you have to live with. If you want even results. So once we get off here, I'm going to weigh my maintenance cartridge and see whether I could just get away with resetting it, or will I have to order a couple of them? Probably will have to order a couple of them. You go through these like there's no tomorrow. Yeah. And think about it, like 400 something, 420, 440 is like max. I think I went up to 500 one time. But the chip will not allow you to get up that high. You'll have to cheat and reset the chip. So we will go ahead and do that. And if I can get away with a little bit longer life for it, I can do that. Otherwise, I'll just have to order some through Amazon. Again, they're available, readily available, and they're only $15, $14.95, something like that. So Yep, it's loaded and now it's beginning to print. So this is going to be like, this is mainly what I was talking about. The profile. Normally, why do they have black and white mode incorporated in most drivers? Because what happens normally is with a regular profile, you don't get a perfectly neutral linearly, that is black and white or monochrome print. So you have to go into black and white mode. That disconnects the system from any color management. It's just using the driver, and it's going to mainly use your black and grays and then correct any kind of off situation. If it's a little bluish, it's going to add a little bit of yellow. It's going to overwrite that black and gray mixture with a little bit of yellow, and that will cancel out that blue. If it's a little greenish, it's going to add a little bit of magenta to cancel out that greenish, and so forth. So yeah, that will give you a nice neutral print, but will that print have a complete range of tonal values in the shadows as compared to the, say, the high areas, or not? If you were to look at a black and white print printed through a profile compared to one printed through black and white mode, and you've already adjusted so that you get a neutral result, do you see more shadow detail? We'll be able to check that. This image has a crazy level of tonalities to it, but that's what I mean. So which is better? Well, if I can get away with using my profile and it produces a nice linearly neutral result with a huge dynamic range, then I don't need to use black and white mode anymore, do I? And if it has a little bit of a tint, I can go straight into Print Prism, use that little color wheel, locate as well as I can with my eyes a matching tint, and redo the profile. In other words, rewrite it. Just like I'm rewriting my older profiles. And see, what I did wrong this time was I didn't use the correct location to write my new title, dummy. You see? So what you do when you're redoing a profile is you just open up an existing scan, an image of your last scan or last 20 scans, and one by one you can redo them, and it will apply that new level of improvement, whatever that may be. Okay. And he can see 2 to 3% increase in quality. So we'll see. All right. So this actually takes like a whole 7 minutes to print. So it's not too bad. We're about a third done. And it's kind of funny that I just saw one of my sensor lights blink. That means that as we are printing, that cartridge is reaching about 20% level. Does any of you who own a Pro 1000 or 1100 and happen to be refilling, are you using the sensor system? Because there's no other way to refill unless you use single-use chips. And those are not really legal in a way, so they're hard to find in the US. I think Precision Color still has some, but yeah. They're expensive, $14 each. And yeah, I might as well disable all the chips, use the sensor system, and that will just flash at me. Hey, I'm yellow. You need to refill me. That's it. Okay, there's no more comments here. Wow. Did I put you all to sleep? Come on, folks. Open up. Please open up to me. Tell me. Tell me what you've been doing. Share with me your experiences. I'm dying to know. I really am. I don't get to like go on threads too much and find out what other people are doing. I want to know, especially from my loving group here that comes every Sunday, what you guys been doing with your photography, your printers, and so on. Come on. Okay, I just saw the light flash again. There you go. It's the third one. The fourth one on the right side, whatever color that happens to be. So I'll take a peek at that. after the show and top that off. I gotta ask Precision Colors to please send me some replacement inks for the Pro 1000, and so I can top every. I want to top everything off completely right now and doing it one cartridge at a time as needed. Wow, come on, folks! 27 of you here watching me. Please talk to me. Tell me what you've been doing. Tell me what you hope to do. Okay, that's it. It's done. Okay, let's take a look at this. Let me light this up. So I forgot where the heck I shot this. This one is just a pile of roots. And the tonal range is ridiculous. This is killing it. I have detail every bit of those highlights there. They sort of disappear on camera. But I'm looking at this and it is just marvelous. It makes me think this is Ansel Adams quality. Yeah, sure. I could be dreaming. But I look at every part here, and I remember just scrutinizing this on Photoshop using the eyedropper tool and reading the values, and I could not find anywhere where it was 000 or pure black. Everything had a slight value, and the highlights. There's nothing that is this level. Okay, everything has an under 255 reading on it here, like that. There you go. And so, to me, this looks dead on neutral. So this profile, I consider this profile as close to perfect as possible. Too bad I don't have any more of that paper. I got to redo this. I have tons of Canon Pro Luster, similar to this. This is glossy, but Pro Luster has a little bit of a texture on it, which I really do like. And I'm going to redo that on the Pro 1000. I haven't used the Pro 1000 for quite a while, but I'm going to go ahead and redo that and begin to use that. I have to use it because I'm wasting too much ink just doing the Q image every couple of days unclog tool thing. Yeah, I can. My God, I can see if there was a mouse hiding there, I'd be able to see his little eyes. So, to me, this image to me is like the optimum one to use. It looks like it was shot on a 4x5 view camera. I swear, it's got that level of quality, that smoothness that kind of camera would have given you. Wow. I should make this available to you guys. Now, this has been treated in Print Prism. I mean, I keep thinking Print Prism. It's been treated on QImage with some adjustments, and I would have to add that file that goes with it so that when you open it, it will include the adjustments that I have already made. If you want to try that with any kind of profile you may have already created, feel free to use that image. I'm going to load it. I got to remember to do it. I got to load it after this, and I'll go ahead and put it on my files tab. If you belong to my Facebook group, you'll be able to use it and use it to sort of verify the ability of your printer with that new profile you painstakingly, not painfully, to me it was painful today, created, and see what kind of tonality range you get. Okay, it should be amazing. Wait a minute. No, you would have to have that paper. What am I thinking? but it's a very common Epson paper. So, yeah, Richard says, well, I've been watching you. Yes, Richard, I know you have. So, Jose, how many versions of Print Prism Target have there been? So, I think, let me, oh, I don't have it here. Oh, wait a second. Mike Cheney did contact me on Messenger on Facebook. Let me go ahead and take a peek at that. Okay, so the message was this. Let me make sure that okay. I always give you the inside scoop. The just released PP 2026.220 is all about squeezing out just a bit more color accuracy. It has been almost a month since, oh, longer than I said, since the last release, and it took me 3 weeks of refining the spectral math and running the spectral calibrations on all scanners again. Then about a week of testing. The result is an accuracy improvement of a few percent. Okay, so how much is a few percent? I would say 2 to 3. If anyone asks, expect subtle improvements in color accuracy. It's not going to be a day and night difference because, as you know, previous versions were already very accurate. But I do see some slight improvements in areas like bright yellows and greens, which on some papers could just be slightly dull in prior versions. That's the scoop for inquiring minds. So then I replied, wow, you squeezed blood out of a turnip. Will ask, should we recreate and overwrite earlier profiles from your earlier existing scans? I want to do a preview video on 220 and see what folks think. He says, I would say yes. So if you want 3%, okay, now he claims 3%. If you want 3% more color accuracy, it's up to you. You could always create a new profile for one paper and then compare it to see if there's a difference. Then I wrote back, oh, wait a minute. So he says QImage Ultimate and QImage 1 are on sale through July 19th. We are celebrating America's 250th anniversary, 25% off for 25 days starting today. So that was June 25th. Print Prism will not be on sale. That's already too cheap. And he laughed. I agree. Make sure to post both offers on my Facebook group is what I said. That's a hell of a deal. All right. So as you can see, yeah, he is stating 3%. And that's enough for me. But, for me to be able to, I printed this before, and it's somewhere back there in piles of prints that I have. But this is ridiculous, the way this looks. It really is. So if you can print this is actually, I think sometimes backwards. Most people will print a color image. I say don't do that necessarily. If you have an image similar to mine, print that. If that can be printed with a representation of the total dynamic range of that image, and it looks neutral from black to white, no changes in tonalities or any kind of tint, you just hit it out of the ballpark. Now you can print your color images. Of course, they're going to print correctly. Of course. Quite often, it is extremely difficult to see if there's an issue with your profile. It's causing a slight tint in this direction or the other because you're printing colors. And you're printing colors that are usually out of gamut. Richard saw that. Okay. He probably did not think they were out of gamut, but you saw it. So You load that profile under soft proofing conditions and the grays disappear. What just happened? You see? So now, as I was looking at that, soft proofing it, that's how it's going to print. It's utilizing the corrections that my profile I just made applies to that image. While you're looking under soft proofing, that's what it's going to look like on paper. Almost 99%. Okay. So, all right. Yeah. Pro 1100 Moab Slick Rock paper 22 by 17 bin testing color rendering with black and white. Yeah. Do that. I would have to, too bad I don't have another sheet. I would have to check that. Again, that profile is kind of useless now because I don't have any more of that paper. Maybe I do. I just have to search in the back. What is the difference that you can put in? Yeah, I think you meant third-party inks in the Pro 1000. I don't know what you're asking. I'm at a loss here. What is the difference that you can put? What are you asking? When I get a question like that, I really want to answer it. I don't know exactly what you're asking. So please rephrase that. Let me see here. You're back here again. And you can't put in Epson P900 third party, not two-party, third-party inks with changing. Yeah. No, I think you're probably not here in the US. No, the P900 in this country cannot use third-party inks, period. Absolutely not. It's locked. You can in the UK or European Union, I think you can. The printers are not locked, so they allow you. They actually recognize the chips on refillable cartridges. Ours do not. Okay. The P800 has to be made chipless. That requires a new firmware, sorry, to be installed. So I think maybe that's what you meant. Photo Nikon 780 says last 3 weeks taking travel photos, now having the fun of processing and printing. Out of 500 photos, I think I have 20 keepers, but my wife thinks 250 are printable. Ooh, you're going to be busy, man. You are going to be busy. I believe there has been 3 versions of the Print Prism Target. Yeah, I think this is the last one. I don't think it's ever going to change this again. I hope not, because that will mean a total redo of everything. I hope that does not happen. I don't feel like doing that much work. All right. So, yeah, but I like the idea that you brought up about, let me see if, hang on one second. I ended up with a 4.5 by 6.5 piece of paper. I don't think the Pro 1000 can handle that. Let's see. Let's see what QImage says. I'll go to custom paper size, user define 4.5 by 6.5. Huh. It says okay. So I'm going to decrease the border But this time, I'm going to choose perceptual. Let me show you what I just did. Let me go load this. Hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it will accept it. So far it hasn't thrown an error at me. So I did a 4.5 by 6.5 custom user defined. So everything else remains the same except for this. So what I did was I used perceptual rather than relative. Black point comp is still on. Let's see if your theory holds water. And what is it that you're saying is better? See, this is where I get into an issue when people interpret something as better. So please, while you're here, go ahead and tell me. I think this was Photo Nikon. No, not Photo Nikon. Yeah, it's printing it. Great. Awesome. Yeah, P. Grobel. Tell me exactly what do you think is better? You say better. So what is better? That's the question. Okay, you did post here. Maybe next week try. No, I'm going to try it right now. I'm trying it right now because I have a comparison. Although it is a larger print. Yeah, black point is on. See more detail in the shadows. We'll see. We will see. Okay. I'm always open to other ideas. Especially folks don't usually play around with perceptual. Perceptual is for colors and not necessarily for neutrality. So it will two reds, like you saw the red, this area here. I'll use a smaller one. You saw that some of these reds were out of gamut, but not all the areas that had red were out of gamut. Only some areas. So I could load. Here's how we can find this out. Thank you for bringing that up. We're going to open up Photoshop again. I'm going to load that same image. Okay? The same image. Look for it in my out of gamut setting and see if anything turns gray. It should not. But then I'm going to load the same profile under soft proofing and then click on perceptual versus relative. Well, no biggie. We'll check it. Yeah, we will check it. Let me open up Photoshop. But normally, yeah, perceptual or any kind of rendering intent is only for color. No big deal. Okay. Let me bring this over here so I can do it a little bit easier here. Open and photo. Excuse me. The problem will be that the adjustments that I made in QImage are not going to show up in Photoshop. but we should be able to still use it. What kind of file format was that? Oh, geez. Let me see. That's a PSD. Damn it. PSD was the number 036. I'm going to type in 036. When you open up the menu, it doesn't show like a rendition of the image if it's a Photoshop. 036. Zero, zero, black and white. Okay. Black and white. Zero 36B and white. Yeah. Why isn't it showing up? Trying to type in the same number. So DSC0036. Okay. DSB0036. Huh. Isn't that something? DSB. Is it DSG? G? No, DSC0036B and C, silly boy. There we go. Okay. You're still not finding it. DSC0036 black and white. Jeez. Oh, it's still looking. Okay. Let it look. Bear with me, folks. I really want to check this. So hang in there. I found it. No, that's actually the color one. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use some other image with the same name. We'll open that up. So here it is. I don't know why it's not locating the previous one. This is another one that could be printed really nicely. Look at that. So we're going to look at this. So this is already converted to black and white. So I'm going to look at this under gamut warning. And there it is. There is no gamut warning. You see that? So we'll do the soft proofing. And I'm simply going to use a polar matte profile, okay? And for the EcoTank 8550, so this is black point comp off. Look at that. Black point comp on. You want this or do you want that? See what I mean? Now, perceptual. Perceptual, yes, it opens up the shadows more. Relative, yeah. So there you go. We just proved that. Okay. So you were not wrong. There you go. So let's go look at the little print we just finished printing. It was printed on perceptual Same profile. Now we might have a problem because this one is so tiny by comparison. But let me see if I can locate an area that would be suitable for examining dark tones. It's hard to tell. But overall, yeah, I really don't see much difference in actual print. So this one's relative colorimetric. This is perceptual right here. And folks, you can play around with a profile where you extend the gamut and try that. Try that on black and whites. Be a little bit weird. Be different. Normally we don't do that, but why not? Why not try that and see what kind of results you get? Experiment. Print Prism gives you those options. I might do that. I might go ahead and do that with, save some Canon Pro Luster. I have plenty of that, so I can afford to use some of it just for experimentation. But you saw what happened in Photoshop. Now let me. I'm going to try to copy that. I'm still curious about that particular image I just printed. I'm going to locate it and I'm going to copy it over to my desktop. I don't know why I cannot just search for it. I mean, I clearly found it in the menu, QImage menu. I'm just going to scan through some of these here. No, it's the same problem where, let me just show you what's happening. See that? It's a PSD, so it only shows up as that. And so far I haven't been able to find it. Now QImage can locate it for me, but then I cannot have fun with it in Photoshop. Anyway, good try. But as you saw, yeah, it seemed to have an effect on the black and white image that I just basically tested under gamut warning and also then under soft proofing. So anything else? It is now 2:22. So I can go ahead and get ready to leave. Of course, after I load my farewell slideshow. Anything else? Well, I don't see why that would have any kind of effect. But if you see that happening, then absolutely. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, don't be afraid to experiment. Absolutely. That's how we discover things. Let me turn this down. That's how anything is discovered. You have to experiment, even if it sounds crazy. Just try it. Try it, and if it's true, it's going to show up. If you are crazy, it's going to show as nothing. So either way, you should be able to determine one over the other. So give it a try. Compare the two modes. And again, remember, Print Prism gives you that ability to increase a little bit and increase a lot, the gamut, for printing with a perceptual setting. Now, from what I understand, if you're printing on a 4-color press at a shop, then and you're printing graphics that contain colors that have to be absolute. I think saturation is what you choose. I may be wrong, but when you do soft proofing and use that mode compared to perceptual, you see the difference. Saturation is a little bit stronger. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed. I need to go upstairs and wash my eyes out. And hopefully I will be a little bit better next week. Do you remember Boyer, who claimed that perceptual is the best way to print? Who was that? I really don't. Where was he at? Was he here? Well, I can just show you straight up. And again, like I said, when you say something is better, oh, I like this coffee brand over that coffee brand. This one is better. What are you saying is better? Describe. So he was a pro printer who left the business. No, I don't remember that guy at all. But here you go. So which is better? I won't tell you which is which. Which is better? You can sit down all day and look at this and say, okay, I prefer this one because, and then you come up with some kind of reason why, which has nothing to do with the technical aspects of this image that has been put together specifically to test your printers. So which one is better? I say this one is better. But that's just me. I'm looking at the colors. I'm looking at even though, now let's be fair here. Let's be fair. See these two greens right here? They're almost identical. See the same two greens here? They're actually slightly different. So this is better if you go by that reason. Okay. Remember, these are all out of gamut. If I do gamut warning, they all turn gray. And half the strawberries turn gray as well. So this is relative colorimetric with the high gamut profile. This is perceptual rendering 10 with the high gamut profile. This is regular relative colorimetric with the regular profile. Again, you just have it's all whatever you think is best. Okay, so be careful when you say, "Oh, this is better," because it's just it's your perceptual, yeah. It's the way you perceive an image should be, and Jack thinks different than Joe. Okay, so, but using this control image, if I just show you this one all day long, you will say this is beautiful. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. The kids' faces look normal. Everything else that is a normal photograph looks normal. That's what I want my photos to look like. Okay. Then you look at this one. I put this one away for a week. And I just, next day in the morning, I give you this one to look at. After a while, your eyes get used to it. Your brain gets used to it. And you'll say, this is the best one. Oh, the kids' faces look great. Oh, the reason those two greens are blended together is because they're out of gamut. Who cares about those two greens? Look at these greens. These greens on those vegetables and fruits in the bottle. They look fine to me. If I had that image for me to print, that's the way I would like it to look. So you see, it's all, you know, perceptual. Get it? All right. He was? Oh, I don't even remember him. Wow. He has a cycling stream now. Bicycle. All right. Good for him. I was talking on that photo, not every photo. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yes. So, but I like your idea, Peter or Pete. Um, I'm going to go ahead and experiment with that idea of using perceptual versus. And now that I can produce like specific profiles to be more toward the um, perceptual rendering intent. I want to know how they act in black and white. It will not be for color. It will be for black and white. And what I can do is with the one that I already created right here, and I have some of that paper. Let's put this over here a minute. You just gave me some good ideas here. This paper here is this paper here, and I got a whole box of it. So I've already done the high um, gamut profile for rendering intent so and so. It'll be on this printer, however, and I will print that same image and I will present that to you guys next Sunday. Okie doke. I think that's going to be it for now. So thank you so very much, everyone, again, for coming on board. And I will see you guys next week, as always. Next week will be 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys have time to hang with me. I will be doing it. I will be doing it on the 4th of July. Is it next week? Yes, it is. I'll be doing it on the 4th of July. I have an event to go to Sunday. I will not be doing this. So remember, 4th of July, and it'll be at noon. You'll have time to go see the fireworks later on that day. Okay. So if you want to see how this is going to look like, and several other black and white images will print like, uh, join me next Saturday at noon. I will be posting the link on my Facebook group Friday evening. All right. Let me put one more here. So this is Henry. It says Mitch Bauer closes custom print shop in June. Was that a young guy with like a Canon large format, like a 44-inch printer? I won't go out yet until you tell me, because I think he got out of it, and I think he was dealing with um, creating, really extracting the most shadow detail, and he knew how to create adjustment curves that would allow the gamma curve to be more of a straight line. Is that the guy that I'm thinking of? Because I remember he didn't last long. I used to follow him. If that's the same guy, is his channel still available? Some people delete a channel if they don't want to be into that any longer. But I will look that up. Let me see if I can just do that now. Let's see. Mitch Bauer. There's a physical therapist called Mitch Bauer. I'm going to add the word printing. Make sure I spelled it correctly. Mitch Boyer. I had it wrong. Yeah, nice art prints. Yeah, closed. Yeah, I think that's the guy. Yeah, I know that guy. Yes, it is closed now. So here it is right here. Are his videos still Why I closed my print shop and some parting printing advice. Okay. Huh. I think I'll watch that. All right. I think those videos are still available, even though the shop is closed. Okie doke. That sounds good. Sounds like a good way to spend the rest of the afternoon. Yeah. Keith Cooper, he's a weird dude, but he knows his stuff. He's been around for when I was learning the process, he was still a big shot out there, even back then. Okie doke. Let me go ahead and reduce this. Go back to me a minute. And I think that's it. You guys have been very, very good with me today. Um, Even though I messed up big time, you guys didn't all scatter and leave. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. All right, that's going to be it. We'll see you next Saturday. Don't forget, Saturday. Bye bye, everyone. Let me hit play, and here we go.